The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and Assalamu alaikum. I am Kashif Kamran and I welcome you to the Advanced Audit and Assurance Crash Course for September 2019 exams. This is the session 2 of the crash course, and this session 2 of the crash course will be guiding you about advice. In the next 20-minute session, I will be giving you some very careful advice which can really help you achieve success and a pass standard in your advanced audit and assurance exam. So let's take on the word file and let's start analyzing some of the key advices which you should follow and stick to when you're appearing for your exams in September. And if you really follow them, again, chances of success and chances of achieving success is higher. Let's take on the advice. Now, in terms of the advice, which you should stick and follow in your exam context, my very first advice to all of you when you sit down and study and when you write your answers and you do your 100 marks paper is the very first advice is that you should practice the recent papers as your first priority. And when I say recent papers, what exactly I mean from recent papers? 2016 to 2019 exams, all available on the ACC website. This is your first priority. The time you're left with, and even any student who had much more time than this is your first priority, because you cannot do old questions and go to the exam hall for September 2019 exams. You have to do the new questions to see how your examiner mindset has changed, how the examining team mindset has changed, what exactly the examining team is asking now. At times, when the tutor gives the benchmark questions, there are some old questions in the benchmark questions even, because that is the capability of the tutor to know the complex questions from the past papers and to give students the most complex questions to practice in the last 10 to 15 days. Now, leaving that aside, your first priority is to practice 2016 to 2019 exams. And whatever you get in these 2016 to 2019 exams, whichever topic, whichever area of the syllabus, try to do that. But yes, when you're doing the recent papers and you're practicing the recent papers, please ensure that when you're practicing, write the answers of most of the questions so that you get a good practice. Write the answers of most of the questions and keep the writing of the answers of most of the questions within the time boundary. You know the time boundary, right? That is the number of marks multiplied by 1.70. So in terms of the number of marks, multiply by 1.70, right? Practice does not mean just going through the question and reading the question. Write them down as much time as you have. I agree, you might not be having a lot of time, but within the time, as many questions you can write them down, because that will really help your speed. That will really help your ability to write an exam paper. That will really help you with that time zone of 1 minute and 70 seconds per mark. And that can be really ideal for you in the exam hall, right? Then thirdly, when you are practicing, implement the reading and planning time, implement the reading and planning time mechanism which has been taught to you in the session one. Now, in the session one, you have been taught a mechanism of reading and planning, and 17% of the time was allocated to reading and planning, right? And for each question, I have given you a segregated reading and planning. So try to implement that mechanism, because the more you implement the mechanism you learned in the session one to the session two when you're practicing, that can really count when you go to the exam hall and you're sitting in the exam hall on the 2nd of September and there is a 100 marks paper in front of you, and you've gone with practice of the reading and planning time, you've gone with the practice of the writing, and you have calculated your time with 1.70, you can do wonderful. But if you've not done any of this and you go to the exam hall and for the first time you tackle a 100 marks paper, you will be very, very nervous. So this is number three, right? Now, beside practicing recent papers with the way the session one has guided you in terms of the time management and in terms of the reading and planning mechanism, now again, how to write and what to write and how much to write is what you will be gaining from the session three onwards. Then there is the second thing you should be doing. Now, in terms of the second thing you should be doing in exam paper, beside doing your practicings, is something very essential. You need to read the 5 technique articles. You need to read the 5 technique articles published by the ACCA examining team, which is available on the ACCA website. You need to read these 5 techniques article, which is very, very essential. Very, very essential. You cannot enter your exams for 2nd of September till the time you've read the 5 techniques article properly. Read them, because these are 5 techniques articles which are available on risk, reporting, procedures, accounting issues, and ethics. And these are 5 fundamental areas of your 100 marks paper. Knowing how to write accounting issues, knowing how to write accounting treatments, knowing how to write procedures, how to do a good question on audit report, how to write a good audit risk answer, and how to write ethics. Read the 5 techniques article. Read the 5 techniques article. This is second, because you will gain so much from the technique article. You will gain the do's and don'ts from the techniques article. You will get to know the criticism. You will get to know the criticism of the examining team. Not just criticism, you will also get to know the recommendations, what the audit team recommends for student, and you can gain so much. I would prefer that when you are reading the exam technique article, you should have a red pen and you should have a blue pen. And when you're reading the exam technique article, what you should do, you should annotate the criticism with the red pen, and you should annotate the recommendations where the examiner is saying that you should do this, that with the blue pen. And once you've done that, at the end, make a list of do's and don'ts in a column form on your register or on your writing pad. Read the 5 techniques article with a blue and a red pen and do the proper annotations. Learn from it, make a list from it, and this is what you should be doing. Then the last and the thirdly, what you should be doing, you should read the latest emerging issue article, which is on data analytics. I've already covered data analytics and shared my short presentation uh, on data analytics, which is also available on Vimeo. So you can go and watch that on data analytics, which will help you gain confidence on this article, latest emerging issue article, data analytics. It is such an easy article, just a 3-page article which introduces you to the definition of data analytics, the challenges of data analytics, and the benefits of data analytics. There is no complexity in this article at all, but you should retain this article in your mind when you enter the exam hall for the 2nd of September. Read the latest emerging issue article. Don't skip that. There might be some marks allocated to this, if not in September, then in December. But if it comes in September, could be worth full of 10 to 12 marks. So read the latest emerging issue article. Read the 5 techniques article, the do's and don'ts, and practice the recent paper. And the last and the fourth thing is read at least, and I'll be doing that in my sessions as well, at least last 3 to 4 examiner reports, so that you know the examiner criticism and that you know examiner suggestions, how to improve. If you read that, again, you have to read with the red and blue pen. Read with red and blue pen. And again, annotate the criticism with red. Annotate the criticism with red and the suggestions of the examiner with blue pen, and then finally make a list of the do's and don'ts so that you know exactly what you should be doing on the 2nd September. This is the best way you can be successful. Sit down with 5 techniques articles in your file, with the last 3 examiner reports in your file, with the recent article data analytics in your file, and with the papers from 2016 to 2019 in your file. Make a proper file. Then keep a paper with you. Keep reading the technical articles, which is the technique articles. And in every technique article, for example, you pick up an article on risk and you put on a page, you write risk, and you keep reading the article on risk with red and blue, the issues, the recommendations. You read the article on risk, end the article, now see how many areas are red, how many areas are blue. Make a list. Then read the article on reporting, then read the article on ethics, and so on and so forth. Same goes with the examiner reports. Read the examiner report with the red and blue. At the end of every examiner report, make a list of reds and blues so that you know, okay, this is the red, this is the danger, I should not do the red, Read the red when you're entering the exam hall on the 1st of September, 24 hours before your exam. Read the reds, because the reds should be there in your mind, because that is danger. The moment you're trying to do that on the 2nd of September, you should get alert. No, I should not do this. No, I should not do this. So remember the red. Remember the red, because red is a sign of danger. And you should avoid that if you want to be successful in your exams on the 2nd of September. So this is just a short piece of advice to support your studies in the next 10 to 11 days ahead of your exams on the 2nd of September. And this was the session 2 meant for key advice in terms of your preparation for exams in September 2019. I'll meet you up with the session 3. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.